So program design, I think.
Hey, you got a minute?
Yeah.
You got a minute for objectives?
I do have a minute for objectives.
Great.
Let's do it.
So most people say, well, why do I need an objective?
Well, I think teachers would ask, why do I need an objective?
It's true, teachers do. And really the reason you need an objective is because you need to know where you want the students to be at the end of the period or the end of the lesson. And if you don't have an objective, you could go here or here, you could go over there. But with an objective, you know exactly where the outcome is.
Oh my gosh, so teaching should really be planned.
Planned.
Yeah.
It's called a lesson, it's a lesson plan. But the lesson
reason.
plan has to start with an objective.
Okay.
An objective has 5 parts.
All right.
So let me tell you the 5 parts.
Okay.
So the first part is what's called a condition. And a condition just means what are the conditions under which the kids are going to be able to do this.
So that would be the sort of like the physical experience in a classroom, like a lab. Or reading or group work. Okay.
Okay. The second one is called the level of cognition.
Ah, yes.
How high thinking do you want the students to be? Do you want them to synthesize as per Bloom's, or do you just want them to repeat? And that really will control the kinds of questions you ask, the kinds of experiences you have. So level of cognition. And usually the level of cognition, we look at Bloom's taxonomy or depth of knowledge.
Knowledge, comprehension, application, move it all the way
There you go.
Okay.
The third piece is called content.
Yes.
What's the content from the standard that you want the students to know and be able to do? So you don't take the standard because the standard is so broad, you have to break it down into one little tiny piece. And that would be the content. The fourth piece is called the proving behavior. What are the kids going to do at the end of the lesson that day to prove that they learned what you wanted them to learn? So that might be a test, it could be whiteboards, it could be an essay. There's multiple ways they could.
Any place that the student produces data. They produce
Anything
some evidence that says they got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the fifth is called the level of proficiency. And level of proficiency just means what's good enough?
How good's good enough?
How good is good
That's
enough?
right.
So if you give a test, is 80% good enough?
It can be.
90%?
And it could be.
How about 50%?
It depends.
It depends, exactly. So those are the 5 parts of an objective. But let me give you a secret about this.
Okay.
This is not the way you write.
No, I wouldn't do it that way.
No.
Yeah.
But it will sound something like,
Content first.
yep, the first thing you're going to do is what's the content? What do you want your students to know at the end of the lesson?
And to what depth of knowledge?
Well, that would be number 2, but
Okay.
let's start with content. Number
Okay.
1, let's do hypothermia.
Okay.
Characteristics of hypothermia.
Got it.
I just went to Antarctica. It's really in my mind.
Okay.
That's the content. The second thing that I would write is the level of cognition. Do I want them to synthesize experiences from about hypothermia, or do I just want them to list the characteristics of hypothermia?
Or to understand the conditions to where it could occur, so they could comprehend or anticipate.
Or the effects of hypothermia.
Absolutely.
So
Okay.
it just depends on what verbiage you're going to use from the level of cognition.
Sure.
The third thing you're going to do is how are the kids going to prove that they learned?
Well, the experience in the room, right?
Yeah, we're going to turn the thermostat all the way up. So how about a test?
A test, they could read something, they could have a conversation with a
Questions.
prompted question. All kinds of ways that you can create the experience in the classroom, the condition to have that learning happen.
Well, but really what you want is you really want the data.
Yeah, well, they got to produce data.
So how are they on the proving
They gotta have
behavior?
that
Let's have a
evidence.
test.
Yeah? Okay.
The fourth thing we're going to do is we're going to say what is good enough. The level of proficiency. So in my class, 80% good enough. If kids were less than 80%, then I had to say, oh, that wasn't good enough.
right.
I have to go back and reteach.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing that you would teach, or last thing you would create from an objective, is the condition. And I would say, after reading the science textbook, although we have stated the 5 parts in objective, you write them in a different order. But in the end, it sounds the same. So after
Content.
reading,
Okay.
after reading the textbook, the students will list, that's my level of cognition, the characteristics of hypothermia by completing a test with 80% accuracy. That is an objective.
Got it.
Do you think the teacher will know at the end if the students got it or not?
They should.
They should.
Absolutely.
That's all there is to objectives.
And that was a minute.